talk about Buddhist words and phrases every Zen student should know. I'm not so sure that every Zen student really has to know these words, but I think it can be helpful to get the vocabulary down. And most of these words are Sanskrit. And from Sanskrit to Chinese is one step, and then from Chinese to either or both Japanese and Korean is a final step. Well, I guess we're the final step, eventually it comes to us. But that's the evolution over the centuries. I've arranged these words in alphabetical order, but I'd actually like to start with the last word, which is Zen. Uh, we'll go back to regular alphabetical order. Gosh, where did Zen go? Do I have another page here? Lord, we have a lot of words. So Zen, Japanese, the last item in the list, Japanese pronunciation of Chinese Chan, which is short for Chana, which is the Chinese pronunciation of jhana. So it's worth having this progression in mind for most of these words. Korean son is sort of parallel to the Japanese. So Zen is the Japanese pronunciation of Chan, and Son is the Korean pronunciation of Chan. So both Korean and Japanese have a lot of Chinese loan words. They're not native, but they're assimilated into the language. One other point I thought I wanted to make about that. This beginning with, let's just review it again. Beginning with the Chinese pronunciation of jhana, which was chana, and you can kind of get that, jhana, chana. And then shortening it to chan. And then the Japanese trying to pronounce chan, and it just doesn't quite work in their language. So something like Zen, and that's how we spell it. And the Koreans trying to pronounce it, Chan, pronounce it something like Son. And that's the word that we use in our tradition. Son Sa means Zen teacher. The Sa means teacher. And our root teacher, Zen Master Seung San, we always refer to him as Sun Sa Nim, Nim just being an honorific. So Sun Sa. So that leaves the foundation for quite a few other words that we're going to look at. And we'll just do it alphabetically. Please chime in whenever you have a question or a remark.
I have a question. Hi.
Yes.
Maybe I didn't hear you right. You said Sanskrit to Chinese to Japanese. Where does Pali come in there?
Pali is a language related to Sanskrit, but not the same. And it's probably the language that Buddha actually spoke.
Okay, thank you.
So it is important, and I'm glad you brought it up.
Thank you.
Okay, so anything else before we barrel through this list? Yes.
So the Sanskrit word jhana, what does that mean?
Okay. It's the Sanskrit pronunciation of jhana, Dhyana. And what does jhana mean? Anyone know? It means meditation.
Simple enough.
So Zen is meditation, if you just trace it back etymologically. Yeah, I should have mentioned that. Thank you, Carrie. What does it mean? Let's see. Let me put this where I can maybe see it better. So all words are Sanskrit unless otherwise noted, and almost all of them begin as Sanskrit, certainly, and then are naturalized in Chinese, Japanese, and Korean. These phrases and words just sort of occurred to me as I went through the alphabet. There's nothing systematic about it, and you could certainly, add another dozen or two, I'm sure. But we're starting with annutara, samyak, sambhodi, which you remember from our chanting. So annutara means unexcelled. The an is negative and uttara is other. So unexcelled. Samyak means perfect. And sambhodi, we all know what bodhi means as enlightenment. And sam is this intensive prefix. So there's bodhi and then there's sambhodi. I guess if you're really enlightened, we'll call it sambhodi. So annutara, samyak, sambhodi, a phrase from our chants.
What did
Next,
you say,
yeah,
Stan? The etymology of anutara. An is un. What was the other part?
unexcelled. You do have this list, right?
Yeah, but you had said something about the ut or utara and the etymology of that. Maybe not.
Yeah, it means literally, it means no other, nothing compares to it.
Okay.
But literally doesn't work in the sense that it's actually used.
Thank you.
Thank you. So arhat in Pali, it's pronounced arahant, and literally it means a worthy one. But what does it mean to you? What's an arhat? Are you an arhat? There are no arhats here?
An arhat like a teacher.
Pardon me?
Is it a teacher also?
Yeah, literally it means a worthy one. In other words, somebody who knows what she's doing and is a strong practitioner, an arhat. So we should all aspire to be arhats. Or if you like to pronounce it in Pali, arahant. I kind of like arhat myself. Next is a word that I thought of after I typed this out, and it's asana, which would fit right between arhat and atman alphabetically. Asana, A-S-A-N-A, and I think we all know what asana is. What is an asana? Are there any yoga practitioners here? All these different yoga poses are called asanas, but we only have one asana, and that's sitting. That's what it means, and it does come up as asana. Maybe it comes up more in yoga than Buddhism. Next is atman, which means self, and literally breath, atman. So it's like you're breathing, or your breathing, is an expression of selfhood. I don't quite get it myself, but myself, that was an unintended pun. Okay. And an atman, an is a negative prefix, sort of like in English can be a negative prefix. So an atman is non-self, no self. And please let me know if you want on any of these, any further explanation or amplification. I think most, yes, you have.
I have a question on the with the Atman meaning self or literally breath.
Yeah,
I mean, I get that I breathe and therefore I'm alive.
yeah,
If I
yeah. I
but
think
if
that's
I
it. Yeah.
but then in practice we pay attention to the breath a lot,
Yes, we do.
which seems to be then I that seems to maybe contradict each other. That on the one hand, the idea is that I have no self, no breath, yet I'm focusing on my breath.
Right. It's a
Maybe
little
that's
ironic, I agree.
Yes. Okay. Okay.
And maybe we have to leave it there.
Yeah.
And I never actually puzzled it out the way you just did. So anatman, not breathing, not self. Well, if you're not breathing, you're not much of a self anymore. Used to be, maybe. But yeah, that's good. Thank you. And then avidya. So vid you recognize because of other Indo-European cognates like video, vision, and so forth. It's the same word. And it occurs in, I think, quite a few Indo-European languages.
Yes, it does.
So avidya, a is a negative prefix. It's also a negative prefix in Greek, so you'll find it in English words as that are derived from Greek as a negative prefix. So not seeing or ignorance. Bodhi, enlightenment. And Bodhi is related to the next word, Buddha. You remember when Buddha came out from his initial 7 years of practice all by himself and met up with his old friends, and they said, "You look different. What happened? What did you do?" And he said, "I woke up." And this is the term that he was using, or this was the root word. And so I started to call him Buddha, the one who woke up, the awakened one.
Stan, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry to interrupt. Can we go
Sure.
back?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Where is that? Where would I see that in the suit? That's an unfamiliar word to me.
I'm
Where,
sorry. Which
yeah,
word?
where would I see that in any of the writings?
Which word?
Vidya.
No, avidya, vidya, and avidya. I don't know exactly. I've certainly seen it. I can't remember exactly where.
Okay.
If I had put more effort into this, maybe I could have come up with a quote for each one, and that would be handy.
Ignorance, that might be a word they just generally use for ignorance.
Yeah, not seeing.
Talk about ignorance a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pardon me?
I say they certainly ignorance is mentioned a lot.
Ignorance is mentioned a lot, yes. But I'm talking about like avidya itself in the Sanskrit being mentioned.
Okay.
And I know I've seen it, but I can't recall a particular passage where I might have seen it. Okay, so we were doing Buddha, I guess. Yeah, so Buddha just said, well, I woke up. So they started to call him Buddha. Not bad, you know. Dharma, we think of Dharma as, Buddha's teaching, which is what it comes to mean. But etymologically, it means, and Dharani is the same. This DHR root means real, firm, actual, the real deal, you might say. So I kind of like Dharma as the real deal. That's not, it's kind of English slang, but it sort of captures what the word actually means without getting too far away from its literal meaning. It's a little more difficult for me to understand why Dharani has the meaning that it has from the root dar, real, firm. We think of Dharani simply as a chant, the great Dharani. But I double checked this to make sure, and the people who seem to know about these things agree that the DHR root, meaning firm, is the root that we see in Dharani. And I think that the colloquial English, the real deal, kind of captures what's going on there.
So what about the part, the ANI, does that etymologically change anything?
No, it's just a noun forming suffix.
Oh, okay.
Doesn't it doesn't really add any meaning to it. It just kind of establishes it as a part of speech.
As opposed to dharma, which is an adjective.
No, I think the ma is also a noun forming suffix.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
True.
So
Hmm.
different suffixes from the same root, and we wind up with considerably different words, different meanings. This stuff can be really puzzling, and don't take any of it as gospel truth. It's but I'm an old etymologist by training. Admittedly, it's Greek and Latin and Indo-European etymology, but I do understand it as a discipline. But I've never been professionally trained in Sanskrit or Chinese or Korean or Japanese. So I'm doing the best I can, folks. So we haven't done dhyana yet, have we? We've talked about it, and it gives us chana and then chan in Chinese, and it is the Sanskrit word for meditation. Drishti, meaning gaze, focal point in meditation. Have any of you come across this word, drishti? So it's in meditation technique. You may have heard the instruction. You're sitting in the posture and your gaze is directed 45 degrees down to the floor. Have you heard this before? Some of you are nodding. Okay, good. So that focusing of your gaze 45 degrees down on the floor is drishti. That's your drishti, the focal point for meditation. Doesn't have to be 45 degrees down. You can just stare at the wall. That's certainly a meditation technique with a pedigree. So wall staring. That's your.
Thank you for that. I never heard that word before, and it's lovely to have it. Thank you.
Oh, good. It's all yours.
Thank you.
It's 100% for you. And then we have dukkha, suffering. The root seems to mean bad in some kind of way, but not that you've done anything bad, but you're experiencing something bad. Dukkha. The base actually is the du, and the ka is a noun forming suffix. We have it's related to the dys root in Greek. So dystopia, for instance, dys and topia. It's the same. It's the same Indo-European suffix that we find in Greek.
Stan, does the suffix ka have a meaning of soul or something of that?
No, it's just a noun forming suffix. It's just a grammatical appendage, you might say. So it's not like it's a compound word and you have two roots. And it's often the case that the last syllable is simply grammatical. It makes it a noun instead of, say, an adjective or a verb or and so forth. Well, we've all done gate, gate, parasam gate, bodhisvaha. The ga in gate is cognate with the English word go. And that's what it means, of course. Now, the prefix para is intensive in a sense, or maybe indicates a direction beyond, so gone beyond. And the sam is an intensive word element. So that's why we say gone completely beyond. The psalm is giving us the completely. And I know you're all very familiar with this mantra, gate, gate, parasam gate. It's really gone, man, you know. Hua-du is the Korean pronunciation of the Chinese hua-to, which means word head. So it's a short meditation phrase. So for instance, if you use gate, gate, parasam gate as your meditation technique, that's your hua-du. Any phrase whatsoever that you use. If you ask yourself, what am I? And don't know, that is your hua-du. That as a meditation technique was actually strongly recommended by Chinul, the great Korean 12th century Zen master. Karma is the next word, and it's a word that's come into English, of course. The car, yes.
Got a question about Wadu.
Yeah.
Is that also the word they use for big question?
It can mean that. It can be used that way. But it's more so if you keep the great question, that's your Wadu.
Okay.
Who's the name
So-
of that Chinese, the guy? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, who?
Finish
So
the.
that's a focus on, so it's sort of a focus of your meditation, whether it's a mantra or the big question,
Yes.
a little broader.
Whatever the actual technique is.
Okay.
What's the name of that Korean Zen master from the 12th
Oh,
century?
Chinul, Chinul. So around the 12th century, one of the great Korean masters.
Okay.
Yeah, he liked this as a meditation technique. If it's good enough for Chinul, it should be good enough for any of us.
So is there not a Sanskrit word for that? For Wadu?
No, it seems to be originally Chinese, and then from Chinese, the Koreans just adopted. But you're right, and certainly looking for the Sanskrit original. But we're going to have a few more coming up that originally Korean, originally Chinese, then either Japanese or Korean. Let's see, where are we now? Are we with, did we do karma? Oh, okay, so the ma is the suffix there. And the car expresses actually any kind of action, and the ma adds the idea of the result of that action. So when you think of your karma, it didn't just appear from anywhere. It's something you did, and with long-lasting results. And so that's what the word expresses. And again, it's Sanskrit. And karuna is a Sanskrit word for compassion. And I don't know how much it's used. Have any of you seen it before? Karuna? Does it seem vaguely familiar in any way? Vaguely familiar, okay.
Absolutely, yes, yes.
So Kensho is another Chinese original, and it goes into Japanese. I'm not sure if it comes into Korean, not that I'm familiar with. But it means perceive nature. Perceive nature, Kensho. So it's kind of an expression that means you got it, babes, Kensho, some kind of real insight. Maybe you wouldn't say exactly enlightenment, maybe that's too extreme, but Kensho means you have some real insight into what you are, what this is, Kensho. It's kind of an awakening. Klesha, I love it because it sounds like it means defilement. Klesha, yeah. I think it might be an onomatopoeic word, actually. I'm not sure. But any unwholesome mental state. In other words, most of our mental states, I guess you might say. Unfortunately, and certainly including me. Klesha. Doesn't it sound nasty? Klesha. And then we all know Kongan. That's the Korean from the Chinese, Gong'an. In pinyin pronunciation of Chinese, it's Kung'an, but it's all the same word, and it means a public case. A Kong'an, we usually don't make up. What we do sometimes is make up Kong'ans, and you're welcome to make up your own Kong'an if you want. Nice looking kitty you got there. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Meow. Where were we? We were on Kongan as public case. So, we have the Blue Cliff record. That's 100 public cases. And the Mumongan Kwan is 48 public cases. And there are said to be, and I've certainly never found them, 1,700 recorded public cases. Can you imagine 1,700 Kongans? We have the 48 and the 100, and then we have a lot that, we read every morning from Zen Master Sung San's, Kongan book is what it is. And he's made up some of those, and he is relying on Korean sources for others. But they have been published, and so they truly are Kongans. They are public cases. Nothing secret about them, except the answer. And then mantra. The man is the same root as mental in English, from Latin, it's the Indo-European root, meaning mind. And the suffix indicates some kind of covering, mantra, covering, so in the sense of protection. And of course, we know it as a phrase that we repeat over and over again. In what sense is it mind protection? What are you protecting your mind from if you, recite your mantra over and over?
If you're using a Dharani like that, isn't that kind of the object that Buddha had in mind in repeating Dharanis as a protection?
Yeah, what are you protecting yourself from?
Glaciers?
Kleshas, your own stupid mind is what you're, protecting yourself. Okay. Mudra means seal, mark, or gesture. And we use it for, this hand position, that's a mudra. And there are other mudras. I don't think we promote any others in our school. Anybody else use other mudras? We're all just stuck with this.
There's a mudra for walking. There's a mudra for walking meditation.
Yeah, so that's like this, huh? So this is another mudra we use.
So is there another meaning, since it also means seal or mark? Is there something else that mudra can be used to mean that's not a hand position?
So seal, mark, gesture is kind of a progression, an etymological progression, you might say. But mudra definitely can mean seal in our sense of, a stamp or something like that.
Okay.
But and you leave your mark, I guess, when you use your seal. So those are connected. But in our practice, it always means the hand position that you're using. I remember, I guess, is when I was practicing yoga. You put this on each knee. You're sitting cross-legged. I'm sure some of you have done that. Am I the only old yoga guy? So, there are others, okay. But that too would be a mudra. Then namu, the word means homage, and sometimes we see namaste, and the te in that is you, just as it is, say, in Latin. Namaste then is a greeting, and it would mean homage to you. I don't think we use it much. Maybe we should. It's a nice word, namaste. I like nirvana. The nir is a negative, and vana is the same Indo-European root as we get in Latin, ventum, and ventilation, and so forth. And in wind is the same Indo-European root. So nirvana means no wind. So somebody explain this to me. Why does it come to mean, this blessed state? Yes.
Stillness.
Carrie?
Means your mind is not moving.
It's calm. Yes. So no wind means calm. And if you're really calm, I don't know if that's nirvana, but it's a rough post on a high hill on the way to getting there, So good, thank you. I grew up in New Orleans, and many hurricanes down there. We were always grateful for the nirvana that follows a hurricane. Param itami is a perfection. Etymologically, the param means beyond, and the ita is go. So it's sort of like, as we say, gone, gone, gone beyond. But it comes to mean a perfection. So can you name a paramita that you're familiar with, a perfection?
Generosity.
Generosity is a paramita. How many paramitas are there? 6, and then somebody added another 4, so you can find 10 sometimes. Yeah, so you can look it up, the 6 paramitas. And yeah, I like that etymology, param and ita. Let's see, I'm turning the page. And look, a paramita is the first thing to appear, prajna. The prajna paramita. So pra is the prefix in this word. And it's something like the Latin and English prefix pro. And the jana is actually Indo-European cognate with the word to know. So, J-N-A-K-N-O. I know it seems, come on, that's not close enough, but it's the honest to goodness truth. That it's jna is Indo-European cognate with no. So prajna is some advanced kind of knowing. not just I know my name or something like that. That would not be prajna. But if you knew your true nature, that would be prajna.
Stan, in your knowledge, did the European, Indo-European, pick that up from the Pali, or
What? I'm sorry.
did they pick that up from Sanskrit, or how
Well,
was that how was that
yeah,
how was that shared?
okay, so Sanskrit is an Indo-European language. It's like the original Indo-European language. And there are many, Indo-European languages. Most of the languages of Europe, for instance, are Indo-European. We're speaking Indo-European right now and hearing it. Now I've gone off on that and forgotten exactly what your question was.
Okay, well, I mean, it's of interest to me what kind of connection that might possibly have across those cultures.
What might have? I'm sorry.
The meaning of the words as you're explaining it here.
Yeah, okay. So in general, you can usually see some connection, some association. But all of these words have evolved in their own languages over centuries, millennia, in some cases. And, you have the original meaning sometimes just gets completely obscured. I like etymologies, but they can be misleading. So the etymology of etymology is etymon logos, which means like the true original meaning. And I think it is the true original meaning, but everything is always shifting in the linguistic realm and developing and branching out and and so forth. So I do the best I can with it, and that's what I'm trying to do now. Samadhi, the DHI is a root that means to place. And immediately a Greek word comes to mind, which is tithemi. You have a THI. Tithemi means to place. I'm trying to think of another Indo-European cognate, much less an English cognate. Can anybody come up with one? So we'll have to just be satisfied with the Greek TH. It gives us a word like thesis. Your thesis is something that you lay down, and then you develop it. And the psalm really is the same word as our English same. So literally same placing, so placing together. But how does it mean what it actually means now in Buddhism, samadhi? Is anybody in samadhi right now? Carrie might be. You in samadhi? Maybe not. I don't know. So, what does samadhi mean in Buddhism then to you?
To be at one with everything?
Yeah. Sameness, being at one. So the root, this together root, the root sama as together, actually pretty much gives us the meaning of samadhi as a spiritual experience, let's call it. Yeah. So a feeling of oneness, of wholeness. That's about all I can say about it. Great word, samadhi. On the other hand, there's samsara. Same sam, but now we have sara, wandering through, flowing on. How does it come? What does it actually mean? I'm just giving you an etymological sort of translation with wandering through, flowing on. What is samsara in Buddhism? What kind of state is it?
A state of seeking?
No,
No?
it's
Suffering?
it's suffering. Yeah, samsara is sadness. Suffering.
Well, it's the cycle of suffering.
Yeah, it's the wheel of suffering, we often say. We're all on that wheel, and around and around she goes, and where she stops, nobody knows. The wheel of suffering.
So wandering through suggests being lost. Does that fit?
Yeah, you can kind of fit that into the web of meaning here. Being lost is some kind of suffering, isn't it? Right? But I don't think it's understood with primarily that meaning, but I think you can justify getting it into the constellation anyway. Oh, here's a more positive word, sangha. And it simply means community. I don't think we have a prefix suffix here. I think this is the whole word. The sangha is the root, as far as I know. So we talk about our sangha, we talk about our community. The Kansas Zen Center Sangha is right before your eyes now. Do you see it? Yeah, okay, good. Satori is strictly a Japanese word. And it's the Japanese word for awakening. For some reason, it's really caught on in non-Japanese Buddhism, or has it? I mean, it is a word that you've been familiar with for a while, I assume, Satori, yeah. Japanese Buddhism has been around in this country a lot longer than Korean Buddhism. But I think we've caught up pretty much by now.
So is Satori related to Bodhi then?
You might say the meanings are similar, but I don't think that linguistically they're related, no.
Okay.
Yeah. Anybody have any cities? SIDDHI? Darn. So supernormal ability. Has this come up for any of you? This word, city? Is it just
Is it like 270 degrees on the Zen circle?
exactly 270 degrees on the Zen circle?
So I've
So-
heard of it, but
You've heard of 270 degrees, but have you experienced 270 degrees? Woo!
have you, Stan?
No. Yeah, so the realm of magic. And that's what we have here. So supernormal abilities. The idea is if you practice hard enough, you can acquire supernormal abilities. Whenever this is taught, it comes with a warning attached. If you happen to be blessed with supernormal ability, be very careful, how you use it. Okay? Promise? Okay, good.
I got a question. So that looks related to Siddhartha. Siddhartha.
Yeah. So go ahead and elaborate.
Well, that's the title of the famous novel by Hermann Hesse, about the Buddha's life, is Siddhartha.
Yeah, but what does it have to do with Satori?
City.
Oh, what about Siddhi?
I'm sorry. Oh, we're on
City.
city. Sorry. Yeah, the name might have an echo of that. I don't think that's,
Okay.
the primary meaning of the name Siddhartha. But you might say it certainly maybe has a little of that flavor or something like that. Yeah, that was his name, Siddhartha Buddha. So shunyata is emptiness. There's an adjective form, which is shunya, and the ta makes it a noun. So shunya, emptiness. Sometimes we have the negative prefix a added to it, ashunya, no emptiness.
Hey, Stan. So what you mentioned these noun forming suffixes, then
Yeah.
what part of speech is the root then? Is it
Oh, here it's shunya is the root.
and that's also a noun, the root, or are
That's
these
an adjective.
hmm.
Yeah. So it's a good question. Why is the root an adjective?
Isn't that like empty versus emptiness, adding NESS on the end of an English word?
Pretty much, it's the same sort of noun forming suffix. Yeah. Shall we move on then? So, did we just do skanda?
No, not yet.
Okay, so skanda, heap aggregate compound. So you're familiar with all 5 skandhas are empty. Which 5 skandhas would those be?
The 5 senses, I guess, right?
No smell, no taste, no touch.
Form, feelings, perceptions, impulses, consciousness. Yeah, that's 5. Okay, good. So many syllables, I lost track. Those are the 5 skandhas. And all 5 skandhas are empty. Well, we won't get into anything like that here. It's enough to know the word. So, what does it refer to? Okay, all 5 skandhas are empty. So form, feelings, perceptions, impulses, consciousness. Where's the heap aggregate compound in any of those?
I don't understand the question.
Okay, so I have here as the meaning of skandha is heap, aggregate, compound, bunch of stuff, right? Okay.
Mhm.
But when we name the 5 skandhas, we say all 5 skandhas are empty. Form, feelings, impulses, form, feelings, perceptions, impulses, consciousness. And all of those are empty. Empty of what? So empty of own nature. They are sort of side effects. Damn, what would we do without them? So good side effects, huh?
Empty of the kleshas.
Pardon me?
Empty of kleshas.
Yeah, kleshas. So we'll leave those heaps all piled up in our minds and go on to sutra.
Hey, Stan, just one follow-up here. So
Yeah, sure.
would our 5 physical senses be grouped under form, then the first skandha?
Yeah, you can subdivide form into all of our senses. A good point. See, where are we? Oh, sutra. This is actually cognate with the English word suture, sewing up, thread scripture. I mean, in Buddhism, it never means using a thread to, tie up a wound, but it's kind of interesting to notice that's how it's come into English as suture. But sutra, a thread, and we have thread in the same sense now, don't we?
Mhm.
A thread,
Email thread or a text
an
thread.
email thread, a text thread, yeah. So
Oh,
thread in that sense, I think. And then, I mean, we all know what sutras are, and I think it's nice to know the etymology a little anyway.
So my Apple News feed is a sutra.
I'm sorry, you're what?
I said my Apple News feed is a sutra.
If you want it to be, it can be.
Yeah, that could be a big problem.
It's a thread.
I have to take it as scripture, Tom.
Yeah. Okay, Tanjan is the Korean pronunciation of two Chinese words, Dan Tian, which is the lower abdomen as a physiological energy field. So everybody put your finger under your Tanjan right now, about 2 inches below your navel. Good. We've acted it out. We don't have to define it. We've found it in our bodies.
What do the Chinese words mean, Stan?
Actually, it means energy field in Chinese.
Oh, okay.
That's good. So, when we practice, we say, be very aware of your tangent, your energy center. We say it's 2 inches below your navel, and your mudra surrounds it. So you've got it, and you can get in touch with it that way. And, develop it to a certain extent. Just hold on tight. An upaya is a skillful mean, or skillful means, upaya. Have you ever come across any skillful means?
I just found my Tanjian.
This is in your tangent. Carrie has an observation.
One skillful mean we use is serving tea and cookies after practice.
That's a nice skillful mean, yes. Any other upaya?
The questions do you guys answer after practice? After the Dharma talk?
I'm sorry that.
Like when we ask you and Judy questions after the Dharma talk.
Yeah, we might be employing upaya there, or we might just be flubbing it completely. I don't know. But, yeah. So anything that you can say or do that helps would come under the category of upaya. I don't think there's a negative for non-skillful means in Sanskrit. It would be difficult. The negative prefix is a, so no, I don't think it exists. So just skillful means. Isn't it the name of some product or some association, upaya? Be a great name for something, yeah.
I think, isn't it Joan Halifax? Isn't her Sangha in, I think it's in New Mexico, is
Because of upaya? Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, that's what it is, yeah. Not a bad idea.
I have a lot of confidence to name your Buddhist center Upaya.
Okay. Well, we've been through Zen. We started with Zen and we've come full circle in almost an hour, so that's as it should be. Any concluding remarks, observations, questions, gestures of hopelessness, anything at all? Then Carrie has
When
some,
it comes,
and then Liz. Carrie?
Okay. A question about upaya. I've always interpreted that to mean kind of something a little bit sneaky, like a way of like luring people in.
Oh, really? Well, that's a kind of negative interpretation. Yeah, it's like rope the suckers in, right?
Yeah. I mean, is that a common interpretation, or is
No,
that just
I've never heard it before. You're unique, Carrie, in more ways than one.
I believe that there's a sutra that explains how the Buddha used upaya to teach early practitioners of.
He certainly had to be using skillful means because he was a big hit, So, I don't know. Why don't you research that?
okay? And
Yeah.
how about the term Dharma candy?
That's a Sun Tzu original, I think.
Okay,
Zen Master Hae Kwang.
because
That's
that also sounds sneaky, like a way of
Dharma candy, yeah. Tastes good.
I'm gonna get candy and
You
then
have some more. Liz, you have something?
well, now I have two questions. So on the Dharma candy, I mean, was that used kind of as a like a false path? Did he?
No. It's perfectly legitimate to use Dharma candy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so then it could be kind of the
Sneaky, yeah.
sneaky way, the sneaky skillful means upaya.
Yeah,
So
lure you in.
okay. Well, the first question I had was, when it comes to Zen, you have we say that it started in China. Anyway, that's what I've heard.
Mhm.
But if its root word comes from meditation and it just means meditation, then it seems that it would have started in India with the Buddha, and then it's just the different trappings around meditation.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah. So there are national flavors, you might say, for, using the Sanskrit word dhyana. I would say yes. It begins. The practice of dhyana begins with Buddha.
Mhm.
Yeah. Trying to think of other. All I can think of is Chinese, Korean, and Japanese. I don't know of any other languages that we can bring in here for the word Zen. The Chinese was Chana and then Chan, and for some reason the Japanese pronounce with the Chan as Zen, which leads you to believe that maybe Chan wasn't Chan but Chan, with a little Z in it, maybe, And the Koreans pick up on the Japanese I can understand. It's the Korean that I don't quite get is son, chan. Korean chan becomes son, unless the son is pretty strongly aspirated and is son, which could well be. I just don't know. But the way we pronounce them, you can almost be sure it's not the way it was pronounced 2,000 years ago in Korea, it's or whatever. So I think something like that. Well, I have another 50 words, and maybe next year I'll do some more. I think we've covered a lot of ground here, so I really appreciate all of you participating.
Thank you, Stan.
Thank you. And we'll meet again in 500 years.
Stan, thank you very much.
Stan.
Thank you.